Morning light streamed through a gap in the curtains, and I opened my eyes. Looking over, I saw that my husband Ryan was already up. He stood in front of a large suitcase, lost in thought about something. Starting today, Ryan would be going on a 3-month business trip to Singapore. For him, working as a project manager at an IT company, this assignment was a big opportunity. But for our family, it was too long a separation. We have 2 children. Noah, age 3, is an energetic and friendly little boy, and Sophia, 8 months old, is still a nursing baby. For the 3 months Ryan would be away, I'd have to take care of both children on my own. I used to be a graphic designer, but became a stay-at-home mom after Noah was born. Caring for children is precious to me, but to be honest, there are times when I feel I've reached my limit both physically and mentally. Especially since Sophia was born, I'd been going through days of sleep deprivation. While making coffee in the kitchen, I called out to Ryan. When I asked if he had everything ready, he smiled a little sadly. Saying it would be hard to be away from us for 3 whole months, he held me close. But it was work, so it couldn't be helped. That's what we told ourselves. The day before Ryan left for the airport, my mother-in-law Claire came to visit. She's always kind and worries about our family. Claire sat on the living room sofa and made me a proposal. While Ryan was away, she wanted to introduce me to a reliable babysitter. Someone she knew, apparently a very good woman. Her name was Jessica, and she was supposedly great with children. Honestly, I hesitated. I was resistant to leaving my children with a stranger. But Claire seemed to sense my anxiety and said, "This woman is truly trustworthy, so please don't worry. She's an old friend of my son's, someone I know well." Claire's words were persuasive. Besides, I felt I needed the help myself. Sophia's crying at night had left me sleep-deprived, and I no longer had the energy to keep up with Noah. A few days later, Claire brought Jessica over. Jessica was a woman with a calm demeanor, and her gentle smile was striking. She spoke kindly to Noah, and he took to her right away. The way she held Sophia also seemed practiced, which put me at ease. Jessica would come 3 times a week in the mornings to help care for the children. The day came to see Ryan off at the airport. Noah cried, saying he didn't want to be separated from Daddy, and Sophia fussed unhappily in my arms. Ryan hugged Noah over and over, gently kissing Sophia on the head. Then, turning to me, he said if anything came up, should contact him right away. "It'll be fine, we have Jessica," I replied. Ryan looked a bit relieved as he headed toward the boarding gate. When I got home, silence enveloped me. The house without Ryan felt somehow empty. But I had 2 children. And I had new help in Jessica. I told myself it would be okay. With her there, I should be able to get through these 3 months. That's what I believed. 2 weeks passed since Jessica started coming to our house. She came 3 times a week as promised, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings. At first I was a bit tense, but seeing Jessica's gentle manner and her kind way with the children, I gradually let my guard down. Jessica would read picture books with Noah and play with him at the park. When soothing Sophia, she held her tenderly as if she were her own child. While she was there, I could have time to myself for the first time in ages. I could take a long shower, catch up on household chores, and sometimes even go out to lunch with friends. Though I missed Ryan, thanks to Jessica I was somehow managing to maintain my daily routine. One morning, I heard Jessica's voice as she played with Noah. While washing dishes in the kitchen, I listened to that voice. Jessica was speaking gently to Noah. When mommy's busy, I'll protect you, so don't worry. When I first heard it, I thought it was a kind thing to say. But I noticed she said the same sort of thing over and over. When mommy's having a hard time, when mommy's not here, I'm here so it's okay. Again and again. I felt it was a bit odd, but told myself she was probably just trying to reassure the child. Still, a small sense of unease remained in the corner of my mind. One afternoon, Jessica and I were having tea in the living room. Noah was taking his nap, and Sophia was sleeping on my lap too. Jessica casually started talking about Ryan. She asked what kind of person Ryan was in college. I answered honestly, actually, I didn't meet Ryan in college, I met him through a friend's introduction. Then Jessica showed a somewhat surprised expression. Oh, is that so? She said, and continued. Ryan must have been a serious student in college. He's always been responsible and the type to care about people around him, right? I nodded, but questions arose in my mind. Maybe she heard it from Claire, I thought, but at the same time I wondered if my mother-in-law would have told her such detailed stories. A few days later, I was folding laundry in the living room. Jessica was supposed to be playing with Noah in the next room. When I suddenly looked up, Jessica was standing in the living room. She was staring intently at the family photos on the wall. Our wedding photo, the photo from when Noah was born, the photo of all four of us together. I couldn't see Jessica's expression, but there seemed to be some deep emotion dwelling in the way she stood there. When I called out to her, Jessica turned around as if startled. You have a lovely family, she said with a smile. But that smile looked somehow lonely. I thanked her, but felt as if a small thorn had stuck in my chest. As the weeks went on, the sense of unease gradually grew. When Jessica talked about Ryan, she was strangely familiar. She'd say things like, Ryan was probably kind even back then, or laugh and say, he must have been popular when he was a student. Her words weren't malicious. But she spoke as if she knew something, as if she'd known Ryan for a long time. I thought maybe I was being overly sensitive. Perhaps I was paying too much attention to trivial things because I missed Ryan. Jessica was just a kind person trying to help me, that's all. But deep down, something bothered me. One night, I tried to video call Ryan. But because of the time difference, the times when he could answer the phone were limited. Plus, the project kept him busy, and he was always exhausted. I wanted to talk to him about Jessica. I felt like she knew strangely detailed things about Ryan. But I couldn't explain what exactly was wrong. She wasn't doing anything bad. It was just somehow odd. When the call connected, Ryan spoke in a tired voice. When I asked how work was going, he said it was tough but he was managing. I talked about the children and told him Jessica was helping. That's good, Ryan said. But in the end, I couldn't voice my unease about Jessica. I told myself it was probably just my imagination. After Jessica left, on quiet nights, I found myself thinking more and more. Was she really my mother-in-law's acquaintance? Why did she know so much about Ryan? But I also felt guilty for doubting her. Jessica was helping me. The children liked her. Maybe I was just suspecting her for no reason. Still, the haze in my mind wouldn't clear. The words Jessica whispered to Noah, her expression when she talked about Ryan, her back as she gazed at family photos. Little by little, it all piled up anxiety inside me. At night, during sleepless hours, I'd pick up my smartphone. I'd try to send Ryan a message but didn't know what to write. Even if I wrote that I wanted to talk about Jessica, how would he respond? There was no evidence. I didn't want to worry my husband based on just a hunch. In the end, I put down my smartphone without sending anything. I thought I'd talk to him about it next time we could have a proper conversation. A month passed since Ryan left on his business trip. Our contact remained centered on brief message exchanges, and we had almost no opportunities for leisurely video calls. Because of the time difference and his busy schedule, we kept missing each other. But tonight was different. Ryan contacted me saying he could make a little time tonight, so let's have a family video call. I was so happy. I changed Noah and Sophia into cute outfits. Noah was excited about talking to Daddy and couldn't sit still in front of the screen. Sophia was laughing happily on my lap. We'd be able to see each other's faces as a whole family for the first time in a while. Just that thought alone warmed my heart. At 8 p.m., right on time, Ryan called. My husband's face on the screen looked a little tired, but he smiled gently when he saw the children. Noah excitedly started telling him all about what happened at preschool. Ryan nodded along, seeming pleased with Noah's growth. Sophia looked at the screen and laughed out loud. We enjoyed casual conversation. What's the weather like in Singapore? Is work going well? Are the children healthy? Ordinary conversation for an ordinary family. But I keenly felt how precious that ordinary time was. Life without Ryan was harder than I'd imagined, but seeing his face like this made me feel I could keep going a little longer. Just then, Jessica came back from the kitchen. Today was Friday, and she'd stayed until evening to help prepare dinner. I'll make some tea, she said kindly as she entered the living room. Suddenly, Ryan's expression froze on the other side of the screen. His eyes widened, and I could see the color draining from his face. I couldn't understand what was happening. Ryan's voice trembled. "Who's that behind you?" he shouted. Fear and confusion mixed in that voice. I turned to look at Jessica, then back at the screen. "The babysitter," I answered. "The one your mother introduced." Ryan's face turned even paler. I could tell even through the screen that his hands were shaking. "The name, tell me the name," he said in a desperate voice. "Jessica," I answered. "What's wrong?" I asked, but couldn't understand my husband's reaction. At that moment, Jessica approached the screen from behind me. She wore a calm smile and waved at the screen. "It's been a while," she said. That voice was surprisingly composed. "It's been a while, Ryan." On the other side of the screen, Ryan shouted. "Emily," he called my name. "Take Noah and Sophia and leave the house right now. Get away from that woman. Right now." His voice was urgent, and I felt a fear I'd never heard before. My heart started pounding violently. I didn't know what was happening. But seeing my husband's desperate state, I instinctively sensed danger. I held Sophia tight and tried to take Noah's hand. But my body was shaking and I couldn't move well. When I turned around, Jessica was standing there with a calm smile. That smile was as gentle as always. But now it looked like something else. "You don't need to run, Emily," she said quietly. "I just wanted to talk." I was confused. Jessica was speaking in her usual gentle voice. But Ryan was so frightened. I didn't know which one to believe. Noah grabbed my clothes with a scared look. "Mommy," he said in a small voice. On the other side of the screen, Ryan kept shouting. "Emily, please just run." But my feet wouldn't move. Jessica slowly walked toward the entrance. She stood in front of the door and turned toward us. Wait, she said. I'm not a bad person. That voice sounded sad. I just wanted to see Ryan. And I wanted to tell him the truth. The word truth pierced my ears. I asked in a trembling voice, what truth? Sophia started crying in my arms. Noah hid behind me, looking at Jessica with frightened eyes. On the other side of the screen, Ryan was shouting something. But his voice no longer reached my ears. I could only hear the words Jessica said quietly but clearly. We have a child, she said. It felt like time stopped. Only the sound of the living room clock echoed. I was speechless. I couldn't understand what I'd been told. No, I didn't want to understand. Jessica took her smartphone out of her pocket. She operated the screen and showed me a photo. A photo of a boy around 10 years old, smiling. The moment I saw that child's face, the strength left my body. The child resembled Noah. The shape of his eyes, the way he smiled, his hair color. Everything resembled Noah and Ryan. His name is Ethan, Jessica said quietly. Ryan's son. On the other side of the screen, Ryan was shouting something. But I couldn't hear anything anymore. Only the face of the boy in the photo Jessica held out occupied my vision. My hands were shaking. I almost dropped Sophia and hurriedly adjusted my hold. Noah started crying. Mommy, he called over and over. But I couldn't answer anything. Was this a dream? If I woke up, would everything go back to normal? But Jessica's quiet expression and the photo in the smartphone she gripped told me this was reality. I knew my world was crumbling with a sound. I remained speechless, staring at the smartphone screen Jessica held out. The boy in the photo certainly resembled Noah. No, he resembled Ryan too. Those gentle eyes, the slightly upturned corners of his mouth, the shape of his forehead. Everything overlapped with faces I knew. Jessica began to speak quietly. His name is Ethan, she repeated. Ryan's son. He just turned 10. My mind went blank. 10 years old. That meant he was a child born before Ryan and I met. But Ryan never told me. Not a word about having a child. On the other side of the screen, Ryan was shouting. That's a lie. I never heard any such story. Emily, don't believe her. She's a stalker. His voice was desperate. But that desperation conversely sounded like he was hiding something. Jessica smiled sadly. Stalker, she said quietly. Yes, I suppose that's how it might look to you. But I've been raising your child for 10 years. I never once asked for help. I just thought Ethan had the right to know his father. I sank onto the sofa. I had no strength in my legs. Noah buried his face in my lap, crying. Sophia kept crying anxiously too. As I held them both, I asked Jessica what this was all about. Jessica slowly sat across from me on the sofa. Tears welled up in her eyes. Ryan and I dated in college, she began. For 2 years, we were together. We talked about the future. But when Ryan started job hunting, he changed. Jessica's voice was quiet, but deep pain seeped through. He said he couldn't see a future and broke up with me. He wanted to focus more on his career. I tried to stop him, but his resolve was firm. We broke up. Then a month later, she continued, I found out I was pregnant. But Ryan had already started a new life. A new job, a new environment. I couldn't contact him. No, I didn't. I didn't want to interfere with the path he'd chosen. I looked at Jessica's face. A tear ran down from her eye. So I decided to have the baby alone. Ethan became my everything. Raising him became my life. For 10 years, I've been doing my best alone. On the other side of the screen, Ryan raised his voice. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you contact me? Anger and confusion mixed in his voice. Jessica looked at the screen. I couldn't tell you, she answered. You had started a new life. I didn't think I had the right to destroy that. But as Ethan grew, he started asking about Daddy. Where is Daddy? Why can't I see him? She looked at me. I couldn't keep lying to Ethan. So I searched for Ryan. And I learned he was married and had built a happy family. My chest tightened. Jessica's words didn't sound like lies. There was real anguish in her eyes. But even so, was this approach right? Why did you approach my mother-in-law? I asked. Why did you deceive us? Jessica looked down. Because I thought if I suddenly appeared, you wouldn't believe me. So I approached Claire. I lied and said I was an old friend of her son's. I thought that way, I could meet you all. I could meet Ryan. I was confused. My husband's past, the tears of the woman before me, and the safety of my own children. Everything swirled inside me. It was certain Jessica had lied. But I could also understand that as a mother, she was desperate for her child. But my children have nothing to do with this, I said. If you're really a mother, you shouldn't have approached us this way. Jessica covered her face. I'm sorry, she cried. But there was no other way. Every night, Ethan asks about Daddy. When he hears stories about his classmates' families, he makes such a sad face. As a mother, I wanted to let him meet his father. At that moment, I heard the sound of the front door opening. My mother-in-law Claire came in. Seeing our situation, she showed a surprised expression. Emily, Jessica, what happened? In a trembling voice, I told Claire everything. Who Jessica was, why she was here. Claire's face grew paler and paler. She looked at Jessica with an expression of disbelief. You deceived me, Claire said. Anger and sadness mixed in that voice. You used me. Jessica fell to her knees on the floor. I'm sorry, she repeated. But Ethan needs a father. He didn't do anything wrong. He just wants a normal family. Claire was speechless. She looked at me, then at Jessica. On the other side of the screen, Ryan was shouting something. But a heavy silence hung in the living room. I stood up. I understand, I said. I've heard the whole story. But right now I need to calm the children down. Noah and Sophia are both frightened. Jessica looked up at me. I'm sorry, she whispered. I just wanted to let Ethan meet his father. I didn't answer. I couldn't answer. Claire grabbed Jessica's arm. In any case, go home for today, my mother-in-law said. We all need to discuss what to do from here. Jessica stood up and looked at me. I'm truly sorry, she said and headed for the entrance. The sound of the door closing, and then silence returned. I held my children close. Claire sat next to me and put her hand on my shoulder. On the other side of the screen, Ryan was calling my name. But I couldn't answer anything. My world had completely changed. I knew it would never go back to the way it was. The next day, Ryan made an emergency return. He came straight home from the airport and hugged me with an exhausted face. "I'm sorry," he said over and over. "I really didn't know." We talked for a long time. Ryan told me everything about his relationship with Jessica. The breakup with her, and that he didn't know about the pregnancy. Tears welled in his eyes. "If I'd known, I would never have run away," he said. I couldn't bring myself to blame my husband. He hadn't known either. But complicated emotions swirled in my heart. For 10 years, another woman had been raising my husband's child. That fact was too heavy. Ryan decided to take a DNA test. Jessica agreed too. 2 weeks later, the results arrived. Ethan was Ryan's biological son. When he saw the results, Ryan sat down on the floor. He held his head and cried, muffling his voice. "I had a son," he murmured. "For 10 years, I've been living without knowing." I sat next to Ryan and held his hand. We spent a long time discussing what to do from here. With Claire too, over and over. Eventually, Ryan decided to meet with Jessica. Just the two of them talked at a cafe. When he came back, his eyes were red and swollen. But there was an expression full of resolve somewhere. "I'll pay child support," he said. "And I'll see Ethan once a month." I accepted that. It wasn't an easy decision. But Ethan had done nothing wrong. I thought he had the right to know his father too. A month later, I met Ethan. Jessica brought him. A boy with a face similar to Noah's stood nervously in front of me. He greeted me in a small voice. "Nice to meet you, I'm Ethan." That voice trembled. I realized he was scared too. A father who suddenly appeared, and that father's family. For him too, this was a big change. Ethan looked at me and said, "I'm happy to know I have a dad. But I don't want to cause you trouble." Those words tightened my chest. I held back tears and smiled. "It's okay," I said. "Family isn't just about blood. If we take our time, I think we can all create a new form together." Tears welled in Ethan's eyes. He nodded slightly. Jessica bowed her head to me. "I'm truly sorry," she said. "My approach was wrong. But as a mother, I thought I had to do something for my son." I answered, "I understand how you feel. But from now on, please talk to us honestly. We're adults, so we should be able to discuss things." Claire didn't forgive Jessica. She told her she would never contact Jessica again. But she was kind to Ethan. For her too, Ethan was a grandchild. One night, I wrote in my diary. "What is a real family? Is it blood ties, time spent together, or the feeling of protecting each other?" I still don't know the answer. But I have Noah and Sophia. And now, a boy named Ethan has also become part of our lives. He visits our house once a month. At first he was tense, but now he plays with Noah, laughing. I don't know if this was the right choice. But the children are innocent. And in whatever form, we can love. I wrote this at the end of my diary: there isn't just one form of family. Sometimes, while experiencing pain, we create new forms. Even so, we move forward. For the children's smiles. Outside the window, the sun was setting. A new morning will come. And our new family form will gradually be built too, little by little.